Spread out over some 75 square miles, Glasgow is the largest city in Scotland. It's the country's business and commercial capital. 20% of Scottish jobs are located here, and the city's economic influence extends to over 2.5 million people across the central lowlands. Local government is administered by Glasgow District Council and Strathclyde Regional Council, soon to be superseded by the unitary City of Glasgow Council, with 83 councillors responsible for the delivery of a wide range of services to the city's 650,000 residents. The seat of central government, the Scottish Office and the Secretary of State for Scotland are located in Edinburgh, 44 miles to the east. Aberdeen, Europe's oil capital, is 145 miles to the north, and London just under 400 miles to the south. These and all other major UK cities are directly connected to Glasgow by road, rail and air. The city's urban motorway system is the largest in the UK. Its rail network is one of the longest established, and its international airport, as well as servicing the domestic market, is the gateway between Europe and America. Glasgow is very much a self-made city, built on the strength and skills of its people and on the energy and foresight of its civic leaders. Today, this drive for improvement can be seen in the Council's determination to provide all of the city's residents with homes to standards that match aspirations in the 21st century. Developed from the £140 million of Housing Covenant, or off-the-balance sheet finance, the Area Renewal programme aims to plan and implement the renewal of Glasgow's most deprived and unpopular neighbourhoods. Local strategies are developed in conjunction with local people, identifying houses for improvement and for disposal. Disposals take the form of either demolition to create sites for new developments, or a possible transfer to a housing association or cooperative after a ballot of the residents. To date, around 10,000 former council homes have been transferred in this way, while the council will invest around £90 million in the retained housing over the next 3 years. The private sector is also an important partner in this process, contributing around £35 million a year towards the regeneration of these rundown areas and creating new markets for owner occupation throughout the city. This new form of partnership for the 90s gives a key role to local people in planning and designing the renewal of their area and their homes, and maximises the resources available to the city. Quality homes in a quality environment at an affordable cost. This is Glasgow's area renewal target for the next century. The Council has also developed joint strategies with the Glasgow Development Agency, Strathclyde Regional Council and Scottish Homes for the comprehensive regeneration of 8 targeted areas in the city, which, between them, involve the majority of Glasgow's residents and offer major redevelopment opportunities. A similar initiative is underway to refurbish the Old Town Centre, the Merchant City, transforming disused warehouses and tenement blocks into modern apartments, offices, shops, bars and restaurants. Over the past 2 decades, the need for radical action to regenerate the public housing stock has become obvious in many large cities across the European Union. For the reasons why this has been needed in Glasgow, we have to look back at the city's housing history. Glasgow was a provincial market town until Scotland became part of the United Kingdom in 1707, and local merchants were finally allowed access to the English colonies in America. The Glasgow merchants quickly came to dominate the transatlantic trade in tobacco, cotton, rum and sugar, and the town spread outward from the old High Street, as the population grew from around 12,000 at the beginning of the century to over 100,000 by the end of it. A modern European city was born. This rapid expansion took on new proportions over the next 100 years, as the city adapted again, this time to embrace the Industrial Revolution. People flooded in from Ireland and the Scottish Highlands to work in the cotton mills, dye works, foundries and shipyards, swelling the population from 150,000 in the 1820s to over 780,000 by the turn of the century. Rich supplies of coal and iron ore in the areas around the city were the raw materials which fueled its remarkable growth, as Glasgow transformed itself into an international engineering capital, and Clyde Built became accepted around the world as a mark of top quality. Victorian confidence was expressed in magnificent public buildings and in the parks and gardens which, even today, make Glasgow the greenest city in Europe. As industry and workers' housing grew side by side in the east and north, the wealthy middle classes moved west and south to the new suburbs, away from the increasingly filthy and overcrowded city centre, which was ravaged by successive epidemics of typhoid and cholera. By 1866, worsening conditions in the slums to the east of the old merchant city led to the formation of the City Improvement Trust, which cleared buildings, widened streets and provided the first municipal houses. The trust properties were adopted by Glasgow Corporation and are still let as council and housing association houses today. Now, as in the late 19th century, a public and private sector partnership is once again renewing this historic part of the city. The Improvement Trust was only one of several major initiatives introduced at the time in response to the needs of city residents for action on health and the environment. In 1859, for example, fresh Highland water was piped in from Loch Catron in the Trossachs, using 13 miles of tunnel and 25 aqueducts, still one of the greatest municipal achievements anywhere in the UK. In 1867, the gas companies were taken over and the price of fuel halved, with more houses connected to the supply than any other city in the world at that time. In 1894, the trams were made public and run at a profit, with the corporation generating its own electricity to power over 270 miles of track, the cheapest system in Britain and one of the best in Europe. It serviced the expanding city for over 50 years. At the end of the First World War, Glasgow took advantage of the 1919 Housing Act to begin an ambitious municipal house building programme in the new suburbs of Knightswood, Cardonald, Ridley and Carntine. In the beginning, these schemes were of low density and only affordable to a small minority, but subsequent acts were introduced in the 20s and 30s to speed up the programme, concentrating on slum clearance and rehousing from the worst of the inner city ex-boroughs. Between the wars, some 51,000 municipal houses were built, over half of which were tenements. During the 1950s, the push to rehouse people from overcrowded and structurally unsound 19th century tenements gained such momentum that by 1960, Glasgow had become the biggest municipal landlord in Western Europe. 25,000 multi-storey flats were built in 270 blocks, mainly in the 29 comprehensive development areas designed to replace the old tenements. More than 80,000 new tenements and terraced houses were built for families in the outer ring and what have come to be known as the peripheral estates. During the 1960s, people began to move out of the city to the emerging new towns of Cumbernauld and East Kilbride, or on assisted passages to Canada, Australia and New Zealand. The population, having risen steadily to over 1 million in 1951, began slowly to fall again to its present level of around 650,000. By 1975, local government reorganisation had increased Glasgow's stock holding to 170,000 dwellings. By then, though, the new build programme was coming to its end. Rehabilitation and modernisation on a large scale was required. Some of the stock was in poor condition, lack of investment and demand in the peripheral estates, deprivation in the interwar rehousing schemes, social and physical problems in some of the multi-stories, and vandalism in many of the neighbourhoods. The unemployment and poverty associated with the massive reduction in the city's manufacturing sector meant that many tenants were unable to pay for fuel that had become more expensive. The onset of smokeless zones and the sharp increase in oil prices only exacerbated this problem. During the 1980s, partnerships with the housing associations, the Housing Corporation and its successor Scottish Homes, as well as with the private sector, introduced diversity of tenure as one of the measures designed to assist in the rejuvenation of the priority estates. In the older inner city areas, the council and community-based housing associations provided joint funding to upgrade over 15,000 buildings and back courts. Much of the interwar stock was also substantially renovated, again through a range of innovative projects which offer enormous potential for the future. By the beginning of the 90s, though, many households were reliant on state benefits as their only source of income, as these household economic statistics confirm. This, along with claims for dampness compensation and remedial treatments for mould growth, placed an intolerable strain on resources. A new solution had to be found, and Glasgow Action for Warm Homes was launched in 1990, as the fundamental problem of fuel poverty was at last being understood. Glasgow Action for Warm Homes was the first energy policy planning framework anywhere in the UK to address the key features of fuel poverty. The framework is now a fundamental plank in the Council's strategy of using investment in housing to tackle poverty by reducing household expenditure. Glasgow Action for Warm Homes set targets for maximum fuel costs based on 10% of net household income levels. It offered energy advice to all residents and helped redirect existing financial resources. For the first time, fuel poverty was identified as having two main causes: lack of disposable income and the poor thermal performance of the properties themselves, many of which were in a bad state of disrepair. The council encouraged the formation of a community-based organisation to combine jobs, training and experience for unemployed people with useful work for householders, such as draft-proofing and insulation. The organisation is called Heatwise Glasgow, now part of the Wise Group, with a turnover in 1994 of over £13 million, and a training portfolio that now includes environmental improvements and security work. To prove that properly directed investment could achieve quality housing standards at relatively modest unit cost and significantly reduce householders' fuel bills, a series of demonstration projects were put in place. Early examples, such as the East Hall pilot projects, used innovative technology to bring homes in the Easterhouse area up to European standards. These projects, while very successful, involved higher unit costs than resources could sustain on a city-wide basis. Later demonstration projects used the lessons learned from East Hall and concentrated on reducing costs while still achieving the lowest possible fuel bills. At Cardow Road, for instance, advanced group heating was installed using the latest equipment design and sophisticated computerized controls. Residents now enjoy whole house central heating at 21 degrees centigrade in living areas and 18 degrees centigrade in the rest of the house, with constant hot water over a 16-hour period at a total charge of £13 per month. In 1993, the council approved a fresh housing investment programme aimed at providing homes that are safe, secure, warm and comfortable. Houses that look good, set in a nice environment, and at a cost that all tenants can afford. This new improved standard will be funded through the city's own capital borrowing arrangements and the extension of its urban regeneration programme. The success of the council's initiatives in these different areas is testimony to the quality of its leadership and to the city's ability to regenerate itself from within. But what is being planned now to prepare Glasgow for the next century? The political situation in Scotland is set to change with the formation of new single-tier authorities in 1996. The new unitary authority will then assume responsibility for transport, roads, education and social work, as well as continuing to administer the services currently under District Council control. Improving the quality of its housing and the well-being of its residents will continue to be the major concern of the new authority. Glasgow's proposal is to install over 80,000 central heating systems in homes throughout the city, and the council has already advertised for a single partner in this £500 million project. The UK gas and electricity supply monopolies will be deregulated in 1998, providing an opportunity for new energy suppliers to enter the market. The council's programme will then provide tenants with efficient, low-cost systems, solving the city's recurring condensation and dampness problems and reducing harmful emissions by as much as 75%. As with many European cities, Glasgow's dependence on large-scale heavy industry has ended. The city, as it has done so many times in the past, has been adapting again, this time to the new opportunities of the service sector. Glasgow is now the largest retail centre in the UK outside of London, but visitors are drawn to the city not just for its outstanding shopping. The sports, leisure and cultural facilities here are the best in the country. Glasgow is home to the Royal Scottish National Orchestra, Scottish Opera and Scottish Ballet. It has 4 National League football clubs and a new national stadium. 2 television stations and 3 daily newspapers have their headquarters here. And the city's restaurants, bars, theatres and cinemas mean that all tastes are catered for. Glasgow's miles better was the phrase which summed up the 80s attitude, as the City Council took a lead role in promoting change through a series of high-profile initiatives. City centre stone cleaning and riverside redevelopment, the building of a new museum to house the Borough Collection, and the hosting of Britain's most successful ever International Garden Festival. Glasgow's regeneration and self-promotion was so successful that it was awarded the title of European City of Culture in 1990, and celebrated the award by staging a year-long series of events which attracted some 4 million visitors. Together, the Garden Festival and City of Culture events generated over £280 million. As a permanent reminder of the year, the City Council, in partnership with the private sector, built the Royal Concert Hall, now widely recognised as one of the best venues in the UK. As part of the Arts 2000 initiative, Glasgow has been nominated City of Architecture and Design for 1999. This latest award acknowledges the city's rich architectural heritage, the quality and variety of its historical and contemporary buildings, and the skills of its designers and craftsmen. While these projects have captured international media attention, the council has been getting on with its day-to-day business, managing its parks, libraries and museums, swimming pools, theatres and leisure facilities, collecting and treating the city's refuse, monitoring environmental health, coordinating planning, architecture, building control and city building activities, and of course, maintaining and developing its housing stock. Glasgow's long and dynamic history of change has found a new focus in the last 15 years. It has rediscovered its old self-confidence and emerged as a modern European city with a distinctive culture and a future that it's ready to meet and shape. The next chapter is just beginning.